Hey guys, welcome back to Dreamin' Dragons. Today we're getting our cuttings prepped, primed, and ready to go with the best chance of long-term success. But first, don't forget to give us a like and a subscribe to support the channel, as well as keeping up with all the dragon fruity goodness we've got here. This pot here gave me 3 to 4 dozen fruit last year, and it's in need of a bit of a haircut. I'll be taking a cutting via a joint cut here, and we'll walk you through how I prepare my cuttings. But don't forget to first give your prunes a clean with alcohol to minimize the risk of infections. When you plant a cutting, you want the least amount of flesh in the soil as possible. This is particularly the case if you grow your cuttings in the ground, where you have less control of the moisture and drainage conditions. I've found from my own trial and error that if you taper a cutting back to just the cambium or inner core and have none of the flesh in the soil, it greatly reduces the chance of flesh rot. If you have none of the nodes in the soil as well, you won't get any pesky new growth poking out from under the ground either. Here are a few examples of how I taper them. For the mid-length flesh cuts, I don't usually have as much core exposed, and that's for the sake of saving more flesh for new growth. After I've made my cuts, I make sure to label my cuttings so I remember which is which. I'll then leave it out of the sun in a shady area for a few days to give the wound time to heal over and minimize the risk of infection. Here's a comparison of the freshly cut wound to what we're looking for with the calloused wound after a few days. Once we have that nicely calloused wound, I'll place just the core in my potting mix and the journey begins. Here's a picture I found of 2 cuttings that I'd left inside and forgotten about for a few months. Very durable plants. A few extra tips when getting started. If you have a piece you want to cut off as a cutting, I would tip it, which means knocking the very tip part off a few days before you take the cutting. This gives the cutting a chance to fatten and thicken up. Number 2, don't take cuttings if it's raining, damp, or very dewy, or if there's more moisture around. There's an increased risk of infection to your cutting and your mother plant, which is something you don't want. And finally, size definitely helps. The bigger and plumper the cutting, the more tolerance to drying out during the rooting process. Thanks again, guys, for coming along. Hope this video helps you get started on your next cutting.